Capital Court orders seeking to remove Labour Party National Chairman Julius Abure and others have surfaced. And we take a look at what is happening as the opposition and the minority caucus ahead of the 10th National Assembly are talking tough. They are planning and they say they will take their place in the coming National Assembly. But again, on the program tonight, we'll be talking about the kitchen cabinet. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's first and foremost touch on one of our top stories tonight, which is that of the Labour Party leadership, who is being hit with court orders seeking to stop Julius Abure, who is the national chairman, and some others from parading themselves as the leaders of the party. A Federal Capital Territory High Court has issued an order restraining the national chairman, Julius Abure, National Secretary Farouk Ibrahim, and two others from parading themselves as national officers of the party. Others stopped from parading themselves as national officers are the National Organizing Secretary Clement Ojukwu and the Treasurer Oluchi Opara. Justice Hamza Muazu issued a restraining order while ruling in an ex parte application argued by Mr. James Onoja. In an application, Onoja told the court how the restrained national officers allegedly forged several documents of the FCT High Court to carry out unlawful substitutions in the last general elections. Among the documents were the receipt, seal, and affidavits of the court to carry out criminal activities. In an interesting twist, a state high court sitting in Benin City, Edo State today has restrained the Labour Party and its members from any suspension or purported suspension of its national officers till the determination of a motion on notice. The Labour Party lawyer, Mr. G.C. Igbokwe, SAN, confirmed to journalists that he got a high court order that status quo is maintained and no action which may result to the suspension of any national officer of the party be taken. According to the lawyer, he says, quote, our attention has been drawn to a latter order purportedly from another court of equal jurisdiction restraining my clients. Of course, such order is of no consequence and will have no effect until after the determination of the motion on notice. Tonight, some very interesting conversation as we look at the National Assembly, and again, our attention will shift to the executives. In the National Assembly, you know that the minority have more numbers than the majority party. So there will be about 8 political parties that will be represented in the National Assembly. That is the most that we've seen since 1999, perhaps in a long time since Nigeria practiced democracy in any of the republics. But the interesting part is that there is always that moral and conventional prerogative of the ruling party or the party which has a majority to determine who becomes a speaker or the Senate president. But it does look like the numbers are speaking different things entirely. And it looks to me that what happened in 2015 may be happening again. We've seen that happen several other times too. Patricia Ete's situation, the Tambua situation, we saw the Dogara and the Saraki situation. With those also history repeating itself. We'll be analyzing some of these issues because the minority caucus met yesterday and they sent a very strong warning. We'll be hearing from them tonight. And again tonight on the program, our conversation will be setting agenda for the Tinubu presidency. What is a kitchen cabinet? Who should be in that kitchen cabinet? What should they be doing? It forms our conversation, and we'll be bringing a very experienced presidential aide to be speaking on this matter. Before we get into meeting my first guest on the program, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Hello everyone, I'm Victoria Longjan, and here are your political roundup stories for today. The Ogun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has been reacting to a claim by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the state, Mr. Ladi Adebutu, that he may be killed while trying to claim his alleged stolen mandate in the just concluded governorship election. The publicity secretary of the APC, Tunde Oladunjoye, said the PDP candidate is only afraid of his own shadow and attempting to shield himself and others from the long arm of the law for alleged monumental malpractices perpetrated during the election. Ladi Adebutu, who accused the ruling APC, the INEC and security agencies of compromise and complicity, says he may be killed while trying to claim his alleged stolen mandate during the meeting with the coalition of political parties in Abeokuta, the state capital. The Plateau State Police Command has sealed the State House of Assembly complex in a bid to avoid the breakdown of law and order following the reinstatement of the former Speaker Ayuba Abok by the State High Court. Officers of the State Police Command were at the entrance of the assembly in the early hours of today, barring anyone, including staff, from gaining access to the complex following threats from the warring factions to take over the assembly complex. Commissioner of Police in the state, Bartholomew Onyeka, met with the factions for an amicable Commissioner of Police in the state, Bartholomew Onyeka, met with the factions for an amicable resolution of the crisis and is yet to make any statement on the issue. And from Rivers State, it appears a fresh crisis is brewing in the All Progressives Congress as some members of the State Executive Council, led by the State Deputy Chairman, Mr. Omiete Eferebo, announced the suspension of the State Chairman of the party, Mr. Emeka Bekee. Speaking at a media briefing in Port Harcourt, the State Exco also announced the suspension of the State Legal Advisor, Ehianyuchuku Azubike, and State Publicity Secretary, Darlington Wauju, accusing them of being involved in anti-party activities, gross misconduct, and financial mismanagement. In a swift reaction, the Publicity Secretary of the River State chapter of the APC has come out to debunk and repudiate the alleged suspension of the state's party chairman, Emeka Bekee, by a faction of the party in the state. Addressing the press conference at the party's state secretariat in Port Harcourt, the Publicity Secretary, Darlington Wauju, and the chairman, Emeka Bekee, along with 16 other members of the party's executive, pointed out that the State Working Committee does not have the constitutional powers to suspend any member of the party in the state.
Two of the persons who addressed the media or who were present at that media briefing have already left the APC officially.
The Labour Party governorship candidate in Ebonyi State, Mr. Eze Oko, is asking the Inspector General of Police to come to his rescue as he alleges threat to his life over the March 18, 2023 governorship election in the state. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Mr. Oko alleged that the national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, forged his signature, claiming that he voluntarily withdrew from the governorship race in Ebonyi State. Mr. Oko asked that the national chairman of the party submitted the name of another candidate to the INEC, which led to his exclusion from the race.
I got a call that Balsabure and his cohorts have all conspired and forged my signature and wrote a withdrawal letter to INEC.
Youths from Idiato South and North State constituency in Imo State have staged a peaceful protest at the premises of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC, calling on the leadership of INEC to immediately present certificates of return to the members-elect of Idiato South and Idiato North State constituency after being declared winners of the March 18 State Assembly election in the state. The protesters, who carried placards with various inscriptions, urged INEC not to delay further in presenting certificates of return to Johnson Duru of Idiato South State constituency and Okechukwu Udeze of Idiato North State constituency, who were declared winners of the state assembly elections in their areas. They say just as certificates of return were given to winners of the election from other constituencies in the state, it should be given to them without rancor. The governor-elect of Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alea, has met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. The new Benue leader says the state is in critical situation and needs urgent attention.
We are a renewed hope of Benue, a hospitable, friendly, law and order people.
And the federal government says it has secured an $800 million World Bank grant for subsidy palliatives for vulnerable Nigerians. They made this public after the Federal Executive Council meeting, where they also announced a 10.9 billion naira ICT component for the National Population Commission.
$800 million US for the national scale-up of the National Social Investment Program at the World Bank. and it's secured, it's ready for disbursement.
Now, those are your political roundup stories. It's now back to you, Sheon.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Victoria, for those stories. Now, you are up to date, everyone. Let's get started with our very first conversation. This one could be a bit controversial. In a few weeks, the National Assembly will be inaugurated, and on the same day, the elected members will have to decide on who the leaders or presiding officers, as they call them, will be. Over the past days, there has been jostling and intense horse trading, behind the scene works, night meetings, and all what have you has been happening on who should get what and from what part of the country should all of these come from. The balancing equation and all those political considerations. A combination of House of Reps elect members in the minority, they said their minority caucus, have grouped up and are speaking up on their plans on determining how the 10th National Assembly would be shaped. They met yesterday night, very late in the night, at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. And let me allow you to listen to some part of what they agreed on.
This session is to enable us network, interact, and familiarize ourselves as people that the results of 2023 general election has thrown up as a new face, having numbers that gives us greater strength to deepen opposition politics and democracy. Therefore, we need to realize such and bond for the interest of our parties and the people we are here to represent.
So you heard, they're grouping, they're forming alliance, they're coming together. But first and foremost, let me show you what I mean. You might not be able to understand quickly and easily if we do not put the facts on the table. Let me show you how the figures and what the figures are telling us right now. What does the Senate, what are the figures saying? In the Senate, for example, there are 109 seats in the Senate, and so far 102 seats have been concluded, determined, and result, and those candidates returned. The rest of 7 will be concluded on the 15th of April. Now, APC has 55 seats so far, PDP with 33, Labour Party 8, NNPP 2, SDP 2, ABGA 1, YPP 1. In the Green Chambers, which has 360 seats, and this is how they stand at the moment. With 326 seats so far determined, the rest should be determined in the supplementary elections. APC 160 seats, PDP 105 seats, Labour Party 34, NNPP 18, ABGA 4, SDP 2, ADC 2, YPP 1. What a colorful Green Chamber that will be. I'm not sure how that Green Chamber will look this time around, considering it's different, the rainbow colors that we've seen. But in all of this, if you look at the figures, 160 seats, that is what the APC has. If you put together the figures of the other political parties aside the APC, 105 plus 34 plus 18 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 and plus 1. What does this give you? Does it amount to almost a number that APC, or beyond the numbers that APC has in the House of Representatives to have an election? I understand that is a simple majority. That means if you have the highest figure, you become the presiding officer. What does this mean? Who are those people who are jostling? We already know some people who want to be speakers and a speaker and the Senate president. Let me remind you of some. We've gotten, we've had more names now, very much populated now. In the Senate, these are the names that we know for now, those who want to be Senate president. Orji Uzor Kalu from Imo, Jibrin Barau from Kano, Sani Musa from Niger State, Goswe Akpabio, David Umahi, Osita Ezunaso from Imo State, Hamel Lawan from Yobe State, Abdulaziz Yari, Zamfara, Ali Ndume from Borno State. Let's go to the House of Reps. Idris Wase is a sitting deputy speaker. Yusuf Gagdi is a 42-year-old lawmaker from Plateau State, North Central Region. Aliyu Betara is another influential member of the House. Sani Jaji, yet another man that a lot of people have been talking about. Tajuddin Abbas, some very interesting names that are coming up. Sada Soli, Benjamin Kalu, Abdurrahman Olawi from Kwara, Miriam Onoha, the only APC House of Reps member from Imo State. These are the names that we know for now. More may come up, but these are the ones that we know for now. All right, let's get to talk about this matter. Tonight, I have one of a most controversial member of the House of Representatives, maybe that we have seen since 1999, a four-time federal lawmaker from Bebeji in Kano State. He was one that led Femba Jabiamila's campaign for the speakership. He was also the first person that came out to campaign for Bola Tinubu. Honorable Abdulmumin Jibril is one of the conveners of the Minority Caucus of the 10th National Assembly. He's a member-elect, member of House of Reps, member-elect from Kano State of the NNPP. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us. It's good to see you.
Well, I don't.
Did I forget that you were a chairman of the House of Reps? You are a controversial man.
No, I'm not.
You remember that you were the one who came up with the issue of budget padding? That's perhaps one of the most controversial.
Yeah.
So do you agree that you're a controversial person?
No. It wasn't even a controversial issue, was it?
It was, very much.
No, it wasn't a controversial. It was a
It put you in a lot of trouble at the time.
Well, it's in the past.
All right. It's good to see you. And congratulations on winning your election.
Thank you so much.
NNPP. You moved to NNPP. You left the APC, moved to NNPP.
Yes.
Did you see that? You thought that you could not win in an APC. That's why you left for NNPP, or what?
Well, there was, always has been that affinity and, of course, a long-term relationship with the national leader of NNPP, who actually had hunted me into politics. That's on one hand. Then on the other hand, we weren't wanted in APC. The governor doesn't want a lot of us in APC, and so he practically ensured that he pushed us away. And of course, we went back, we got ourselves together, and we taught him the political lesson of his life.
So you basically fought Governor Ganduje?
Oh, absolutely, because he was fighting us, and he made sure that we got nothing and we couldn't breathe in the APC. And at the end of the day, he cost APC 18 House of Representative members, including about 6 or 7 super members that the country has invested a lot in training them. 4th-term members, all of them lost. Cost the APC 34 state assembly members. And I can tell you largely, some of those lawmakers are quality lawmakers. They lost not because of themselves, they lost because it was a vote against Ganduje.
So is somewhat a popularity contest between a former governor leading the NNPP and the sitting governor?
Oh, straight ahead. It was a popularity contest between Kwankwaso and Ganduje. And of course, everybody understands the ideology of Kwankwaso, where he's coming from, his integrity, love for people, love for the masses, and everybody trusts him. You know, trust is very important in politics. Once people trust you, they do anything for you. So it was a situation in Kano of Kwankwaso versus Ganduje, and the people of Kano have spoken.
But Ganduje has had his way sometimes. He's won elections. He's shown that he has also...
He's never won an election on his own. Every election he's won, it's under Kwankwaso. And the last one, he never won it. And I've said it severally on this program that in 2019, I was in the APC. Officially, APC won the election. But in reality, I've said it severally on this program, in reality, Kwankwaso, PDP under Kwankwaso won the election.
That is what you want to believe?
No, that is not what I want to believe. That is what happened. That was the clear case of what happened.
Well, reality is actually what the authorities say, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I said officially, so nobody is going to take me to court. Isn't that official? So what they announced officially, I said officially, Ganduje won. I don't want to even say APC. APC, Ganduje won. But in reality, Kwankwaso won that election in 2019. PDP won Kano. 2019.
Let's talk about the business of the National Assembly. You are going back to the National Assembly, a very familiar terrain, one place that you rose to become the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations. That is
Finance,
one of
that's
one of the most influential position in the National Assembly. Yeah. You are going back there. But being a member of the NNPP, do you think that you're going to get such an acclaim?
Well, I have never been propelled by what I will get. And I'm very sure that even my colleagues, they will attest to it. And one of my weaknesses, and I have tried all my life to learn how to look for something for myself, I've not been able to know how to do that. Perhaps God has blessed me with the skills to know how to help others to get something. So my priority hasn't been what I am going to get, even though I know that I have served the National Assembly so well that with every sense of humility, I know whoever emerges as Speaker will require me to function in a particular position to continue to add value to what is happening. But coming into the House as a very young lawmaker, of course, I was chairman finance, then simultaneously became chairman appropriations. It's quite a difficult thing to do, not more than 2, 3 of us that has had that history in the National Assembly. But this time around, we will watch and see what happens. But to be honest with you, I've never been propelled by what I am going to get. That's why you see, even in the previous election, where I led the campaign of Femi, you will understand very clearly that I did not pick any committee.
You worked for Femi Gbajabiamila. In fact, yes. You were the DJ of his campaign.
Correct.
For his speakership ambition.
Correct.
This time around, who are you working for?
That's a very unfair question.
Why is it unfair?
Shehu, I warned you before coming to this program that there shouldn't be surprises. And now you spring a surprise.
No, because...
I would rather, of course, you know that I'm a blunt person and I don't shy away from answering questions. I will rather try to give you a bit of a rundown of the candidates that I believe, or the aspirants that I believe that one of them will become the Speaker, God's willing, and try to look at their strength. And maybe perhaps if you ask me, if as at today we go to the poll, who among the candidate is going to win the election? Those are the kind of questions that I can answer. Of course, you know, the present Deputy Speaker is also is running the present Chairman Appropriations, is running the present Chairman Transport, Tajuddin Abbas, is also running Sadasoli, as you've mentioned. Then, of course, Yusuf Gadji. And this, for me, the strongest aspirants. Of course, I understand the guys from the southeast, of course, Miriam, whom I know her pretty well, and of course the chairman, House Committee on Information. Perhaps they're putting in themselves as a standby in case if in the Senate, a northerner emerge as a Senate president.
Is that possible?
Perhaps they will have.
Is that likely?
I don't think that is. But my personal opinion, let me tell you this. If you look at the entire controversy, coming, of course, the Muslim ticket and everything and the rest, I think if anybody loves this country, anybody that loves this country should not be thinking that the number 3 man should be a northern, again, Muslim. Or it should be the appropriate thing. The correct thing to do is that position should go to a southern Christian. And I believe that anybody who wants it the other way around, he loves himself more than the country.
All right, let's look at...
If you love the country...
I'd like you to fill these...
If you love the country,
fill these
more than yourself.
Diagram. No, I'm talking about the one that has the president-elect, the vice president-elect, and the unfilled position in the National Assembly. So if you can fill these columns, the ones that are open as of now, the Senate President, the Deputy Senate President, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, from your own point of view, Honorable Jibrin, how do you feel this in terms of, you are talking about the spread, the balance of power.
Yeah.
How do you feel it? What do you think is just and fair?
Well, I will tell you something. For me, 1999 is not 2003. But again, you can also say that something was experimented in 1999 and it worked. And assuming I am in APC, I would recommend to APC that you should adopt the 1999
template. So what was the 1999 template?
Let me also tell you something.
Just a moment. What was the 1999 template?
You see, it could be dangerous when you cut me off. Twice you've cut me off and I have to go back to that issue. One, I want to analyze to you because you've asked me a question, who is my preference in the speakership, and I want to give an answer to
all right,
that.
Go ahead.
Secondly, coming back to this, I am saying 1999 is the best. But again, you will have a situation where some contestants would not respect the zoning. And if they do not respect the zoning, I should expect that the APC as a party should understand that even though you are implementing a 1999 formula, you also have to understand that there are circumstances that are unique. I tell you, in all the big candidates, 6 of them, I was just doing an analysis of the 6 of them. All of them, you have 2 of them from Northwest, you have 2 of them from North Central, from Northwest, you have Jaji, you have Sada Soli from North Central, you have Uwase, you have Yusuf Gaddi from Northeast, you have Betara, and of course, I've talked about the North Central. All of them have basis, justification for being speakers, which I all agree with. The Northwest will tell you they produce the chunk of the vote. What do you use to compensate them? So the speakership is a very good position to say you're compensating the Northwest. The North Central also are claiming they've given the largest number of states, and of course they did that in 2019. They're doing that again now, and they're saying that look, it's only fair you give us. Then, of course, the guy from the Northeast, which is a Betara, which people will say, oh, no, the vice president is not it. But it's a moral issue because in 2019, it is what all of us and APC as a party stood for, even when the vice president was from Southwest. So APC as a party adopted Femi. So you cannot kick out Betara from the race on that basis. Then for the North Central, the minus in that race is that the national chairman is also there from the North Central, but again, you cannot take away Wasi from it. Then when you go to the Northwest, the same thing. But now I will tell you, 4 of them will respect party zoning because I know all of them and I've interacted with all of them. Tajuddin Abbas will do that. We respect the zoning when the party say the
of the APC.
Of the APC. Jaji, he will do that. Yusuf Gadji will do that. Sada Soli will do that. 2 candidates will not respect zoning, even if they are zoned out, and that is Wasi and Betara.
Why do you think they will not?
They will go because I've had conversation with them.
They will go to the floor and test it.
They will go to the floor and test it. And now I tell you something. The party should not be upset with them. It is not largely because of what they want. It is because of the history of support base they've always had. And is so massive. And if you ask me point blank today, no matter where the party do zoning, and you ask me that they go, who is going to it, I'll tell you that Betara is going to have 90% of the vote cast.
Presently now, yes, of the 360 members.
360 members, is going to have 90% of the vote cast. And that will continue. It will be difficult, except anything extraordinary happen. That will continue until the day of the election. Now, I am not telling you that that is where I am tilted to. I'm giving you a fair analysis and a picture of what is going on at the moment in the...
All right. So I wanted you to feel this for me. And from your own experience, you're going to be a 4-time member of the House of Reps. So you have institutional memory and you understand the workings of the National Assembly.
Yes.
So look at it now in terms of the way and manner this country is presently. And one thing that a lot of people have said is that the unity of this country is very critical and it's been tested. The fabric of our unity have been threatened and have been stretched. We need to have a balance of power that will satisfy different parts of the country. In that sense, what do you think will work for our nation as it stands right now, beginning from the Senate presidency?
I've told you, if you adopt the 1999 template, it means that the Senate presidency will go to the Southeast. I know a lot of people are going to shout, oh, the Southeast are fighting APC and the rest. Look, for goodness sake, once a president emerges, it is fundamentally right for him to assume the status of the president of the country. That's the whole idea. And of course, there will be genuine argument oh, we gave votes and the rest, what do you compensate us with? There are so many things that you can use to compensate people and make them feel they've been carried along.
Would this be a compensation?
But I believe...
Could it be a good compensation for the Southeast?
Well, I don't know whether they will accept it or not, but in certain instances, there are certain things you do that you will say, I have satisfied my conscience that I have tried to take the entire country. Many people will differ with me, but I am telling you that this is my opinion.
All right. So if you say Southeast,
that place, few people will come and sit here and tell you this bluntly. That's the fact. You go southeast.
Okay. DSP, the Deputy Senate President.
Of course, if you are using 1999 template, you are talking about North Central.
North Central. Okay. So what about the Speaker?
The speakership, if you are going by 1999 template, you go Northwest.
Okay.
And you may be surprised, maybe the person that I'm even supporting is not from, he may not be from Northwest.
Who are you supporting?
But I'm also telling you.
Supporting?
But I have also.
Why are you not answering my question? Who are you supporting?
Now listen, show.
Why is that difficult to answer?
I have also said something to you.
Yeah.
That this is where I think it should be zoned. But I have also told you that 2 candidates have already gone far away beyond zoning. They've gone far. They've gone too far.
Who are those?
I've said it to you that Wasi and, of course, Betara. And it is not only because I understand the history of where they came from, the volume of support that they have from members and the rest. I've also had conversation.
Who are you working for?
Had conversation with them.
Who are you working for?
I'm working for Sheung. I'm working for Sheung. On a serious note, I'm working.
I've not
on a serious note. On a serious note, I have a national leader, Kwamkwaso, whom we all love and we differ to. And we'll continue to engage ourselves, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to advise. He'll be able to advise us on what actually we should do.
He's also an experienced.
But this is going to be the dynamics.
Yeah.
For me, I believe that what is safe for the APC is to zone it to the northwest, and the party, even if some candidate goes against it and they defeat the zoning, APC would have satisfied its conscience that, look, Northwest, we gave you this. And there's not going to be grievance against the party.
So you say Northwest for Speaker?
Yes.
Deputy Speaker?
South.
South. Interesting. Let's take a break. But there is something that I'm hearing, and my good friend here will be telling me whether or not it is true. 166 are the minority members now in the House of Reps. 160 APC. I'm hearing that they are threatening that they will produce a speaker against the run of play. That will be a dramatic twist in this whole game. What is Honorable Jibrin and his friend up to? We'll find out after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. The politics of the National Assembly gets our attention tonight. 10th National Assembly is the one everyone is looking forward to. This 9th National Assembly is ramping up, and Honorable Abdulmimik Jibrin, a 4th-term lawmaker, he's been speaking with us. Former chairman of the Finance and Appropriations Committee, has been is now House of Reps member-elect from Kano State on the platform of the NNPP. Thank you so much, Honorable Jibrin, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Shio.
Am I hearing right? If we bring back the information about the House of Representatives, which tells us 160 members elected as of now in the APC, and the total of the members elected in all of the other political parties have come now to 166. So there are more minority members than the ruling party, or they call them the majority party on the floor, which is the APC, 160. What I'm hearing from that meeting of you and your colleagues yesterday is that the minority wants to take over the House. Is that right?
It's not right.
So what is the truth?
Yeah, it's not right. I think there was a slight misrepresentation of what transpired at the meeting. Of course, we're organizing ourselves. Of course, we also recognize the fact that we are in majority. And hopefully, after the supplementary elections, we've done in our situation room, we've done all our analysis, look at all the various constituencies and the rest, and we still believe that we still have an edge. Worst case scenario will be at par very minimal worst case scenario, maybe 1 or 2 members in between. But the most important thing is that in the history, 4 times I've been sworn in as member. In the history of the National Assembly, this is the only time that you have the minority parties come in with such a large contingent, and most likely are going to even have more members than the ruling party. And because of that, the leadership of the minority parties, a lot of other members, it is not only Jibrin, there are a lot of other members. There are about 6 members or so that are even my senior now in the House, who are 5- and 6-time members. All of us come together and we said, we realize this. It has never happened in the history of this country, and it makes the situation a bit complicated, because the ruling party could say when you go to a party as an individual, they have the edge. But again, when we put our strength together, we are more than them. We are stronger than them. It means that there are a lot of things that we can do with our strength, including electing a speaker. But again, we are so experienced that we understand the importance of a rancor-free process. Both the build-up to the election of the speaker, and managing the House. So you don't only look at the election. You don't only look at those things that excite you. You also put the bigger picture on the bar. But I need to answer this question properly. So what we now look at, because the tradition is that the ruling party, when they win the election, traditionally what goes to the opposition party is majorly the Public Accounts Committee, and maybe 1 or 2 irrelevant stuffs. That can be tolerated when you are really the minority. But in this case, where we have what we have coined as the greater majority in social science, because of our influence and numbers, we are no longer minority. We don't refer ourselves as minority when we come together. As individuals, we are minorities. When we come together now, we refer to ourselves as the greater majority. Since we are the greater majority, we want to tell the APC, because, you know, some of us, me too, I'm Aswaju's son now. I know does anybody knows Aswaju more than me? So I wouldn't want also anything to put the government in shake. So we don't want them to go with that toga that we are majority. You are not majority. The minority put together is strong enough. So let's sit down as a house, look at how we intend to run this house. We are coming with our own ideologies, our own policies and the rest, and it is only when you have the authority in the house and the power given to you in the house that you can implement that. So we must look at how we can share power in the house. So this is just a one step towards that direction of sitting to negotiate. But anything can happen if they decide to play an arrogant way. But I also understand that there are a lot of experienced people in their midst that also understand this reality. And so what we've done yesterday is to put ourselves together. It's been a very difficult process bringing all of us together, especially managing our colleagues in the PDP. I know they will search at me, but I'm saying this so that their own leaders will also understand that the bigger problem of PDP in the country is also raising its head in the House. But we've been able to find a way to manage ourselves, to come together, and we're going to hold ourselves together as
let me get this
clarification.
Let me get this clarification. Is, or you call yourself the overwhelming, the greater majority.
Yes.
That's an alternative word for the minority now. So, are you planning to produce the speaker from your ranks?
There's no plan like that going on.
Okay, so it's clear you have deferred to the APC to produce the speaker.
Yes, and the people are not understanding this. Even when we say, even in an event where the APC refused to sit with us, to negotiate power with us, even at that, when we say we are going to produce a speaker, we are not saying we are going to produce a speaker from the minority. We are saying we are going to pick from the APC who we want and make him a speaker. I think that's where people are getting it completely wrong.
So you could do the Tambuwal effect or the Dogara effect. That's what you're thinking.
It's a possibility, but the ball is in the court of APC, the APC, and I'm sure they will not mismanage the process.
And the first thing is the issue of zoning.
Absolutely.
Has the minority thought about what is fair Is that one of the things that you considered yesterday at your meeting?
Well, it is not our responsibility, and I do not think that in any of our meeting until the elections that we will sit to see how should APC do their zoning. What I have just told you today about zoning is my own personal opinion. It does not represent the opinion of the minority.
So what's the major consideration of the minority caucus?
Acceptability, capacity.
You want to be
the person that we
table.
believe, yes, the person that we believe can do the job, the person that majority of members believe that they can rally around him, he can stabilize the house, he can protect the interests of the minority and ensure and also protect the interests of the majority. He can relate very well with all other arms of government, both the executive and the judiciary. It is that sort of person that the minority parties are looking for.
Have you streamlined? Have you streamlined?
Now, no, we haven't. We haven't.
So please, you have.
Don't quote me. We have
not.
No,
you are going to only be quoted based on what you said.
Yes, we have not, as a minority party, as a greater majority, we have not decided who to support. But even when, I repeat, if in an event, or let me also say in an unlikely event, because I do not believe that having had all these experiences, the APC will mismanage the process and refuse to put its house in order. If in an event that they refuse to do that or they fail to do that, if we say we are picking a speaker, it is still going to be a speaker from their midst. It is not going to be a speaker, because if you pick anybody in our midst, it's still coming from a minority party. We're only a greater majority when we come together. So it is also going to be somebody from their midst. Now, the difference between now and 2015, right? The party in 2015 didn't like the individuals. The president also was clear that, look, this is the person that we want. Now, in this instance, I also know my own personal information. I also understand. I'm a system person. I know what's going on in the system. I know that the party, and of course the president-elect, has no problem with Wasi, has no problem with Betara, has no problem with Yusuf, has no problem with Sada Soli, has no problem. But again, if they zone, they will prefer that you respect zoning. But if zoning doesn't work and some of the candidates decides to go and contest and they win, I do not think there will be a confrontation.
Let me get a few questions out now quickly. The rules, the standing rule of the House does not preclude a minority being a speaker. Is that an outright and specific rule saying only majority party can be the speaker?
Yes, it's explicit.
It's explicit.
Yeah. It's a person, an aspirant will be nominated from the party with the majority of.
Because I'm imagining that
with the majority
I'm
of
imagining
numbers.
You've been involved in working to for the emergence of two speakers in the House, and I thought that you might also put your hat in the ring.
Maybe I didn't even think about that. It is now that I said maybe that is why Ganduje made sure that I got out of APC. It is just now that I'm even realizing that probably I would have also been thrown my hat in it. But it doesn't matter. The most important thing is to serve.
But should there be an election today on the floor of the House? Let's assume we are in June. The House is not inaugurated now. Should there be an election? Who do you think will win?
I actually answered that question previously. If you run the numbers, Betara has an overwhelming majority. If you go to the floor today, he's going to win. In fact, he's going to win by the 95%. Really? Anything can happen along the line to the date of the election. But I am telling you, as a fourth-term member of the House and somebody who has been in the center of two successive speakership race, I can easily interpret what is going on to you and tell you that if you go to the floor, that gentleman is going to win. And unfortunately, even if you zone, the problem with such the zoning is that if you argue that he comes from the zone with the vice president, I'm sure that APC as a party will not advance that argument because they've laid the presidency in 2019. So it's a complicated,
it is.
It's a bit of a complicated situation.
Now, this is how we wrap up the conversation on this matter. And I like to look at what interests the larger interests of Nigerian people. We've looked at the leadership and the organization and the politics of the National Assembly. But let's look at the interests of the average Nigerian. Do you know that it's being a long-standing agitation of the people of Nigeria that the kind of National Assembly that we have does not portray the interests of the average Nigerian? That it is highly funded, it does little compared to what Nigerians get, is over bloated, and the funding that goes to it is largely too much. Are you in the minority thinking about the agitation on the minds of several Nigerians? There was a time that there was a very popular agitation about the cutting down the cost of running the National Assembly as the most expensive legislature in the world.
Well, let me tell you something very interesting. There are a lot of agitations. It's even beyond the National Assembly. And talking about cutting costs, it is not about cutting costs in National Assembly. It's cutting costs generally in governance. It's part of what we should focus on. I tell you this, the National Assembly constitutes just 2% of national budget. And you see, sometimes when these issues are put in a public glare, you try to make the public understand this, but we miss the point. We focus on something else. You focus on the micro, you forget about the macro, the bigger picture of what we should focus. I believe that what we should be looking at is cutting costs in entire governance of this country. You open the budget, you look at it, you look at the entire budget of the country, and you look at how you are going to cut costs in every ramification. But I tell you also something. One of the problems that we have is that the country has not been able, even as a country, to appreciate what the function of a lawmaker should be. You have constituents. And so your constituents, rather than assess you from your contribution in the House in terms of bills, in terms of motions and the rest, which is the job of the lawmaker, they assess you from the point of view of the project you are able to bring in the constituents. And that has not changed. So it's a bottom-top kind of a thing. It requires a very serious reorientation.
Yeah. So where do we start from the orientation?
I don't want to use a revolution, no. Please, before I'm charged of treason.
I mean, the
word you call revolution.
The literal meaning of
bring revolution in this matter now.
No, hold on. Don't let us misinterpret and let us not take it out of context. So when something is revolutionary, it's something that is unusual, something that hasn't happened.
A revolutionary.
So if
a revolutionary approach.
Let's start with the salaries of the lawmakers. Do you think that is fair for Nigerians that for people that are multidimensionally poor and they have lawmakers earning that kind of money, and they are perhaps the highest paid lawmakers in the world, is it fair on the average Nigerian?
Now, I tell you this, all the parties, I have not attended a meeting of the APC, I'm not a member of the APC, but for the coalition of the minority parties, all of these issues are issues that will come up in our blueprint, in our agenda, and the rest. I don't want to say something that could be misrepresented, but I believe that the minority parties are all in tune with all of these issues, and we are going to take positions on all
we need to go. You don't think that the money that you guys are being paid is too much?
No, what I'm telling you is that the cost of governance in the country completely is too much.
You don't think that the salaries and the money
is being paid to me?
No, the lawmakers. You're a member elect.
But you see, somebody is watching on television now. You would think as a member elect and any money.
You've been in the National Assembly.
No, but the way you are saying it, that the money you are being paid, the money I am being paid.
As a member elect,
nobody is paying me money.
The money that you'll be going to be paid is waiting for you. Would you be suggesting that the salaries of lawmakers?
I am telling you that the entire country, we need to see it.
Let's not generalize it. Let's not run away from the issue. I'm talking about what the National Assembly members are being paid. Yeah. Do you think that we should cut this to reflect the situation of the country?
When I go back home, I will have to now look again to see what they are paid. The last time I earned the money was years ago, and you understand that. So I'm just coming back.
All right. We just hope that you guys will do good by Nigerians and be able to reflect. You cannot have a flamboyant National Assembly when you have an impoverished people that you are leading. It's not just looking fair.
I'm sure
the weight is not balanced.
I'm sure you also understand the antecedent of some of us, what we stood for in the past, our perspective, our opinion about a lot of issues and the rest. And I can assure you that there are a lot of quality lawmakers, especially in this newer 10th assembly that are coming in. And the like minds are going to put themselves together and address a lot of issues. What I keep telling you is that the National Assembly is not only the issue. Let's look at the bigger issue. I've been chairman of appropriations, and you know the issues are raised when it comes to National Assembly. But even at that, I also understand that it is just a percentage of the budget. The bigger problem, the bigger picture problem is not being even looked at by a majority of Nigerians.
Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin, thank you so much indeed for your time. I appreciate it. And we're hoping to see when the inauguration will happen and see how the politics plays that. And should you decide to run, let us know. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, and when we return, we'll be looking at the Tinubu presidency. Kitchen cabinet, what does this mean? How impactful will a good or poor kitchen cabinet members of formation be for the next administration? We'll be dissecting it, and a former presidential spokesperson will be joining me. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much indeed, everyone, for staying with us. Let's switch gears now and look at, well, we are now projecting, the last conversation is about projection into the 10th National Assembly. Now we're projecting into the Tinubu presidency and what we should be expecting. And so when you hear the word kitchen cabinet, it has a history. There is an origin of that in governance. And in fact, it's far away from across the sea where this has been used. But if you look at that, I've tried as much as possible to do some research, find out who are usually those who are in the kitchen cabinet. And we've been able to identify a few persons. And these people in the kitchen cabinet are some of the people that the president sees the very first time he wakes up in the morning and gets to work. These are the people that, in fact, sometimes they say are the last people he sees before he goes to bed. When he wakes up in the morning, these are the first set of people that he sees. These are the work closer group. Now, so they include the ADC to the president. Is almost everywhere where the president is. The state chief of protocol, the director general of the DSS, the NSA, the special advisor on media, the principal secretary, the secretary to the government of the federation, and in fact, the chief of staff, which sometimes could be as powerful as the sitting president wanted. So I wanted to get someone to explain this to us, because we're trying to set the agenda for the incoming administration, the Tinubu presidency, the president-elect and the vice president-elect. How do they go? What do they need to know? Some of them are familiar with this. But you as a Nigerian, how familiar are you with this? I have joining me a spokesperson to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Mr. Ima Niboro. He joins us live here in our studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Niboro, for joining us.
Thank you, sure. Thank you for having me.
How important are the kitchen cabinet members? You were one.
Well, it's interesting. I must tell you.
But you never worked in the kitchen.
Let me tell you.
You had your own office, not in the kitchen.
Interestingly, the president I served, President Jonathan, used to tell me and tell all of us that he doesn't believe in kitchen cabinet. So one day, he made that comment in a public forum, not a very large public, but in a meeting. And I made a beeline with him into the office. And I told him, Mr. President, this is about the second, third time you're saying this thing. Please don't say it again. Because your kitchen cabinet is actually a group of people that insulates you from certain kind of issues that come up in society. In fact, from your kitchen cabinet, you can actually find somebody to fire, if you have issues that you need to explain to the public. The kitchen cabinet is such that it doesn't. I saw the rundown you made. Well, it's an excellent rundown, but sometimes the kitchen cabinet is made up of people who don't even have any appointment in government.
Really?
Sometimes they're even more powerful.
No title?
No title.
But they are always in the villa. They are always with the president.
They have direct access to the president. There are such people that can call the president on phone. And the president will pick their call. Presidents don't pick calls. As a rule, presidents don't pick calls.
As soon as they assume office.
But because he's a human being, he has his phone. There are people who have that number. They will call and the president will pick. And he will tell his chief security officer, please, Mr. So-so is coming by 8 p.m. Put his name at the gate. Some of them actually get villa tags, so they don't need to be cleared at the gates.
They are not official staff?
No.
But they are as powerful as it comes?
Probably more powerful.
Wow.
There are such people like that. I can give you an example. I don't know if I'm at liberty to do that in present government. People like Alhaji Mamandara. Those are the leaders of the kitchen cabinet of the current president. So, does he hold any office? He doesn't. But he decides.
But they are advisors.
Yes.
The president consults.
Yes, consults.
They get consultancy kind of.
Yes, because sometimes.
But can we call them consultants? Because if they are not employed by government, but they work for the government by proxy because they advise the president.
Yes.
So could they be regarded as consultants?
No, not consultants in the formal.
Yeah, in the formal, but no. So I'm saying that they are not officials of government, but the president consults. They advise the government.
And many successful presidencies have such people. You know why? Because they don't hold any government office. They have greater interface with the society outside. So they're able to tell the president more directly what's going on out there. Unlike somebody who probably has an office, he goes to work from, in fact, most presidential staff, they don't even have closing time, The president is your principal. When the president is at work, you're at work. When the president closes, that's when you go and start your own work. So it's non-stop. But people who don't have such specific appointments, they have freer time to interact and interface with society. And they give the president even more critical feedback than sometimes his own aides. So you cannot reduce kitchen cabinet to people who have those appointments. Of course,
but these are usually the ones highlighted. These are the ones that we've seen over time. That have been consistent, in and around the president.
You are correct. All of them, and even more that are not there, are members of that kitchen cabinet. But their roles, the kitchen cabinet is of such crucial importance. Like I said, it gives the president, there are meetings after meetings. The president holds meetings every day with all kinds of people. In those meetings, the president makes certain commitments in those meetings. But before he goes into those meetings, there are people who meet with him. Tell him, look, Mr. President, are you going to do this is what to expect, this is what to expect, this is what to expect. Because they have had interactions with people who are coming to such meetings. So when the president is making a commitment, because when the president makes a commitment, it becomes very, very much like word of law.
So let's look at some of this. So we're looking at the Tinubu presidency, which will take effect on the 29th of May.
Yes.
And usually, I remember when you were announced, it's probably the president makes an announcement of maybe 3 people at the first day. I mean, such we see also with governors. The chief press secretary, as the case may be for some governors, the secretary to the government, which is very also crucial, and also the chief of staff.
That's correct.
These are probably the 3 first major appointments that have been made. How critical are these 3?
Yes, they are strategic because the presidency virtually rests on them. The first task of the president is to fill vacancies. That's his first task, most urgent task, to let people know that he has hit the ground running. The 3 key people, the chief of staff, secretary to government, and the SA media are the first 3 appointments. In some cases, it's actually even more chief of staff than the SGF. But of course, if the president has the good fortune of having somebody that's ready-made, that he knows this can be SGF, that's perfect for him. Because between him, the SGF, and the chief of staff, they will make all the necessary appointments. Then the SA media is one to announce
to the public.
Yes.
So, I mean, are there balance or consideration? I mean, ethnic, regional, are those kind of considerations important for those who make up the kitchen cabinet?
Yeah, well, the kitchen cabinet does not require ethnic balancing because it's really an informal cabinet.
It doesn't fall into the constitutional provision.
No, it's an informal cabinet. It's a group of people who are very close to the president.
And there could be people that have been working with him before.
And mostly people who He has learned to trust their opinions, learned to trust their judgment. People he knows that these are honest people who are honest and straight down with him. People who can, when everybody's out of there, can tell them that, Mr. President, you are talking nonsense. There are people like that. Presidents need such people. Those are people that form his kitchen cabinet. It's not necessarily a statutory thing that you now need, but usually, for you to attain the office of president, you will have had a certain kind of national
reach.
National reach. You have contacts nationally. So I expect that in Asiwaju Tinubu's kitchen cabinet, you have prominent people from the north. Many of them, the northern governors.
There are names, for example. Let's begin with the issue of chief of staff, for example.
That's correct.
And there are interesting names that have been thrown up. Two of them I hear are they are members elect in the House of Representatives. Sitting, the name of Femi Gbajabiamila, the Speaker. We saw pictures of him with the President-elect. Honorable James Faleke, his name was the Secretary of the campaign. In fact, the Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, his name has been thrown up. Do these kind of people fit in, from your own experience, into the shape of a chief of staff? What is the role of a chief of staff?
All three of them are perfect for the role of chief of staff. Because let me tell you one thing about chief of staff. Chief of staff is somebody whose most significant qualification is the confidence of the president. The president cannot have a chief of staff he cannot trust. The president cannot have a chief of staff he doesn't know very well. Because chief of staff is somebody that can walk into the president's bedroom, who can knock the president's bedroom and say, Madam, are you there? Please, I want to come in. That's what the chief of staff is. It's usually somebody who's so close to the president that is like a brother from another mother, a sister from another mother. That's the chief of staff. So no matter his qualification, of course, before you will get to that point that you have the confidence of somebody who becomes the president, you too will be a man of status yourself, a man or woman of status yourself. You cannot just be some flotsam, jetsam from the village and no, you understand? So that is why, you see, I said that all three people you mentioned are eminently qualified for the position of chief of staff.
So if you look at the kind of president-elect that we have, so I imagine that the chief of staff is like a personal manager that tells you, sit down, president, stand up, president, go there, president. He's not coming. He will not see you. He will see you. This is his schedule. He approves and all of that. Am I right?
You are perfectly right.
So, out of all of these three,
the chief of staff is somebody who can tell the president, Mr. President, you're not going for that meeting. And he asks, why can't I go for a meeting? Mr. President, you go for that meeting, this and this and this and this will be affected. You cannot go for that meeting. Sometimes, stubborn presidents will get up and go for the meeting. But usually, with better hindsight, many times, they look back and say, I wish I listened to this guy. You understand? Because chief of staff has more information than the president. The president is at the top of everything. He has a lot of information from security agencies and all that. But it is the chief of staff's bonding duty to synthesize all this information. Because many of the things that come to the president come in tens and tens of volumes. The chief of staff's job is to reduce these things to 1 or 2 pages, which are called executive summaries. Executive summaries for the president. Then, when the president is looking at it, he wants further information on certain aspects of that summary. It's okay, give me that volume. Let me see what these guys are arguing. You understand? So that's not somebody that you don't listen to, because it has far more information than you do as a president.
We've had some very, not going too far, Kyari, the late Kyari, who was chief of staff, may God rest his soul, to President Buhari. If you look at his profile, he has very outstanding academic profile. And you even look at the present chief of staff.
That's correct.
Who served in Darfur, in different parts of the world, in the United Nations. Professor Gambari comes with a very outstanding academic profile and professional profile too. And you look at the likes of the people that names have been coming up. Is it Fashola? Is the senior advocate of Nigeria? Is it Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker of the House of Representatives? So you talk about James Faleke. He's over 60 years of age. He's a man of his own words too. So it comes as it is, and if you are to describe, not particularly mention any of these persons, the kind of person Bola Tinubu is,
Yes.
what kind of things should be on his mind? Let's assume he's watching tonight. A man that they say that the chief of staff sometimes is like the president pro tempore.
Well, that's a difficult question. Yeah. I cannot pretend to be in Asiwaju's cabinet or the group of people who interact with him regularly. Yeah. But watching from outside with my experience and knowledge and the contacts I have within his system, I know that, like I said, all three of them are qualified eminently. But it will appear that the pendulum might be swinging towards Baja Biamela. Might be.
With what you are seeing?
Yes, from what I see and what I hear. Might be. Not because the other two are less qualified, but also probably because the president might have even more fundamental assignments for those other people too. So it's not like being chief of staff, being chief of staff or not, it's not a rejection. It is also because the president has looked and said, okay, this guy, Fashola, I need him here. I think he'll do better in XYZ place. So let me have this guy with me here, and let me put Fashola in that place so that I can go to bed with my eyes shut. Ditto Falike.
So we'll go on another break. Yes. So I imagine that if you want to know how serious the incoming government is, you look at the shape and the quality of his kitchen cabinet. That's correct. Isn't it? Excellent. All right, well, let's take a break. Emmanuel is still with me, everyone, and we're looking at the kitchen cabinet, setting the agenda for the Tinubu president. Sort of making his job easier, isn't it? If we prepare the minds of Nigerians for the Herculean task before him, because this nation belongs to all of us, and it must not fail. We come back after the break to talk. For staying with us, Emmanuel is a former spokesperson to President Goodluck Jonathan, and is giving us insight in the workings of the presidential villa as we anticipate on 29th of May when a new government will be inaugurated. That's Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima. So if we move away from the chief of staff, I mean, as you said, that there are other positions that may not even get titles that are also very important. The principal secretary, what does that character or the person do?
For the presidency, post Obasanjo, is, because of the issues between Atiku and Obasanjo in that presidency, there was developed a concept of the single presidency. Before then, you had two distinct offices in the villa. Office of the president and the office of the vice president. Both had their own budgets, both had their own staffing, independent of one another. But with what happened, what Obasanjo saw as the Atiku challenge in the second term of the administration, the former principal secretary of the State House, Stephen Oronsaye, permanent secretary, said that they drew up a concept of the single presidency. And that is why I keep telling people today that the vice president of Nigeria is probably the weakest vice president anywhere in the world. Because the vice president actually functions these days very much like the #1 aide of the president, because you have a single office. In this sense, let me explain this to you. The vice president doesn't have his own budget. It's the budget of the president. So anything he requires, he writes for the president's approval. So you see, before now, he has approving authority. His aides can write to him, he approves straight to PAMSEC, State House, and they will release. But these days you have to apply to the president.
Some of the aides of the vice president, the titles are so all of the president in the office of the vice president.
All the aides of the vice president are appointed to the president. So you have even the SSA media, for instance, to the vice president, is SSA media to the president, bracket OVP, office of the vice president. The reason is this, strategy is this. The president can reach beyond you, reach beyond the vice president and fire anyone. Which was not the case. What happened was, you and I will recall when during the Obasanjo articles, where you had people like my senior brother Garba Shehu, who was spokesman to the vice president. Yeah, you know, it was like a flat-out war between him and the late Remioyo. You understand? You know, so they were, you know, you know, you understand? So all that changed. You know, Stephen Oronsaye did this. You know, so all aides of the vice president are actually appointed to the president.
And that's the structure that has been maintained. He worked with Yaradua, worked for Jonathan, and now it's the same structure that has been maintained. And it's likely it may not change. I mean, if Tinubu, or you think that Tinubu could change it with the character of a Kashim Shettima?
It is not likely to change, because what actually counts is the fluidity of the relationship between the president and his vice. If, in fact, it's probably even better for the structure to be like that. If the vice president is a smart guy, stay on the right side of the president, you can actually get more for your people or for the areas you want to do things for, you know, from the president's budget than you will have had from your budget, which is probably smaller. So now you guys have one budget. Although within that budget there are outlines of this area for the vice president, etc. But you can get actually more. You understand?
So the principal, so you see the principal private secretary of the president is with him every of the time.
That is why I brought this.
Yeah.
You know. Ordinarily, the principal private secretary to the president is actually supposed to be the deputy chief of staff to the president. But because of this structure, the chief of staff to the vice president is the deputy chief of staff to the president. You understand what I'm saying? You see, so you have that structure. You cannot now have another deputy chief of staff in the office of the president. It will create all kinds of relationship issues.
Title clash.
That's correct. You know, so the deputy chief of staff in the office of the president is actually the principal private secretary.
So, so statutorily, as soon as the president is being announced, his ADC officially is also announced.
Well, the president appoints his ADC.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's also an appointment by the president by himself.
Oh, it is a prerogative of the president.
As the chief and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces.
The positions that the president doesn't need to consult anyone to appoint is number 1, the chief of staff. Number 2 is SA Media. Number 3 is ADC. Number 4 is chief security officer. Those are appointments that are personal and direct to him.
He needs a CSO, a chief security officer, that takes care of the villa.
Oh, yes. In fact, in the structure of the presidency, the chief security officer is actually more prominent than the AD camp. Because he's the one that's in charge of everything.
He has the global picture.
In fact, if the chief security officer decides that the ADC will not go to work today, it doesn't happen, you know, but in terms of power, you know, because he oversees the entire structure of the villa. But usually the ADC is from the military, and he has a direct interface with the commander of the Guards Brigade. It's because, you know, the Guards Brigade, that's the outer cordon security of the president, while the CSO takes charge of the inner cordon of presidential security.
So where does the CSO come from? From the police or from
usually
from the plain uniform?
By culture from DSS. By culture from DSS. Very senior officer of the DSS. Usually the president's chief.
So the vice president gets an ADC
but that doesn't mean
from the Nigerian police force.
Yes,
the vice president's
ADC is usually from the police force.
So the VP decides his own.
Of course, it's a personal appointment.
Okay.
He would now recommend that appointment to the president, and the president approves it for him.
Is there anything that the vice president can approve with the structure that has been laid out in the villa?
Like I said, the vice president of Nigeria is not a very powerful position. But, let me put it this way, clarity. Power sometimes is more by perception. If the vice president is a smart guy and knows how to be the president's right-hand man, he is the most powerful person in the villa after the president.
Let me spend the next few minutes to quickly touch on the other roles, which are important. And it's also good, this kind of information that you're sharing tonight, good for Nigerians to know the workings of the presidential villa. The National Security Advisor, does he need the approval of any other authority for him to approve, or he's also at the prerogative of the president?
He is appointed at the prerogative of the president, but because of his role, the president will need a little bit of more consultation. Yes. There are names that are flying around now, you know. Now, these are people who, when you hear their names, you know that, okay, these people have had relationship with the president-elect. I hear the name of General Dambazo. I hear the name of Nuhu Ribadu. You know, these are well-known names. You understand? And, you know, I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but these are just,
yes.
We are media people. We hear things.
Yeah.
We talk to people, and these are names that are coming. You know that General Dambazo was head of security for the campaign. Of course, you and I know the relationship between Nuhu Ribadu and the president-elect. So again, these are people that the president must know to trust, but people who also have their own capacity.
How close is the relationship of the president and the NSA? How often does the NSA see the president? Oh,
the NSA is so strategically placed that sometimes, if circumstances demand, it can even overwhelm the chief of staff because it's security. So if we have a situation of national security crisis, he takes prominence. But you know, he's a special advisor. Very much like even the SA media. He's a special advisor. But his role, his office, is of such prominence and of such strategic importance that he can over all other offices, given certain situations, all the circumstances.
All the security chiefs report to him. Is that right?
Well, not report to him. They actually report to the president. But that the structure of the presidency is when you bring all those volumes, if you have a major crisis maybe happening around Sambisa Forest today, you are going to have to brief the president. But all that briefing you are going to give the president may have a lot of technical details. The president will understand them because he's an intelligent person, but he doesn't really know everything you are talking about.
The details.
He doesn't know those details. You understand? Because he's intelligent, he's bright.
So it's the NSA that guides him through.
So it's the NSA that gives all these briefings to.
Yeah.
So it's the NSA that now reduces things to executive summaries to the president.
Yeah.
So that is why you see the NSA becomes like a homing point for the service chiefs.
Let's bring this conversation home.
Thank you.
In all,
yes,
the kitchen cabinet is as important as it comes. If the president wants to be successful, he needs to get a fantastic kitchen cabinet. Is that right?
I agree with you 100%. If the president wants to succeed, he must have a kitchen cabinet. And let me tell you, the kitchen cabinet does not actually, it forms itself. As I'm talking to you now, there is already a kitchen cabinet. Those are the people who see the president at odd hours, the people who can reach him at any time, people who can call his phone and he picks the phone. That is the kitchen cabinet. They exist already.
Mr. Imanuboro, a former presidential spokesperson, he worked with former President Goodluck Jonathan. Thank you so much for the insight you're giving to us. It doesn't come without experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimberly. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.